Wait a couple hours.
This is one of our completed Hugel beds. We've got some cucumbers and tomatoes that we tried. They were root bound in the seedlings. So there's just now some of them starting to establish and green out. But we've got volunteer watermelons on top. I'm throwing some compost down the top, which will have seeds in it that will come out, and we can move them or we can leave them and let them grow. But this is a composted mulch that we got from the city of Waycross. That's probably been in the breakdown process for between 6 months to a year. So it's got some compost in it. It also works great for ground cover. But this bed is on the larger side for scale. And again, it doesn't have to be 4.5 feet high. It might be 2 feet high. It doesn't have to be 75 feet long. It could be 6 feet long. Whatever you have the ability to do, do it. You start with whatever you can do. And if these plants don't work, we'll just put different plants there. One of the things about a Hugel bed that you'll find and that you use to your advantage is what's called aspect. Which way it's facing. This Hugel bed is actually running north or east and west, so we have a north side aspect and we have a southern aspect. For greens, lettuces, those plants are really affected by the aspect, the sun exposure. The more sun those plants get, the stronger the flavors are. Your mustard greens will be spicier, peppery tasting almost, especially your arugula and your rocket and those that you put a little bit in your salads. You'll find that it doesn't take near as much for those that are planted on the southern side that gets more sun than the shaded side or the north side. The other thing that we can use these Hugel beds for is microclimates. With it running east and west, in the winter it'll block northern winds, which are cooler winds. And so on the back side, we could have a microclimate that could be, a few degrees warmer. It helps to extend growing seasons. So we utilize every part of what we do for our benefit for growing, but it also benefits the environment around it. With permaculture, we're leaving the environment better than we find it. So it goes back to the whole stewardship. We don't want to cause erosion. We don't want to degrade the environment around what we're doing for the benefit of one thing. So compost, mulch, well, we're using it as ground cover, but it will actually change the structure of the soil under it. And same with these Hugel beds. The effect of these Hugel beds isn't just the bed itself, it will actually reach out around it. And the nutrients from it will leach out into the soil surrounding. So that's a key principle to permaculture, is doing things that have far-reaching effects, not just localized.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so you've got this Hugel bed now.
Right.
Say this was just dirt before.
Right.
Underneath it.
Yeah.
The worms and stuff, do you have to go buy worms, introduce them to it, or will they migrate to this area since it's becoming an environment that they can live in?
If they're already here, they will migrate.
Okay.
If they're not, go buy some.
Okay.
And
you'll know by digging
yeah,
or whatever.
you'll
seeing if
start
you've got
seeing worms.
Gotcha.
One of the key things we've seen here is birds.
Yeah.
We see the animal life coming up. So we know if there's birds, there's food for the birds, whether it be insects, worms, grubs, whatever.
Okay.
So you'll start finding them, and if you introduce them, you'll see that they're going to be multiplying. If you do raised beds using compost, introduce them into the beds.
Yeah.
They will leave, some will leave the beds, but they will, as long as they have a food source, they stay pretty close in.
Okay.
So if you did have any worms out here, I mean, would you want to go buy like hundreds or something like that? To throw out there?
You could spend as much as you want to. 3 pounds runs about $40 if you order them. Don't go buy. I would not suggest buying from your local bait store because it's going to cost you tremendously more.
Okay.
But
And they multiply.
they multiply quickly.
When you make compost, that's where we've observed it's easier because you're moving it, but they're in the ground and they.
So
How are your worms
Start
doing?
small. Start with what you can.
I know there's a lot of volunteer, and that's another key. If you do vermiculture and you raise worms for worm casting, you'll find that you have a lot of volunteer plants coming out of your kitchen, which means
My dad used to have a bait bed. He always take the grit from one way. I always take the grits and pour it out on it. So what else can you pour out on? Like, if that helps the worms, what else can you pour out?
any kitchen scrap that is not meat,
Potato skins,
any
Shells.
vegetable or fruit byproduct, use it.
cucumbers, tomatoes.
Breads. The key that if you're raising worms, the key is certain things heat up quicker. Your breads, your cereals, your grains, when introduced with water, the bacteria, they heat up hot. And you have to watch that with worms, because if a worm bed gets too hot, it'll kill them all. So that's a key aspect to watch for that. And I've seen that and actually had to use ice to cool down the bed, the worm box. So, but this is a new completed Hugel bed, and over time we'll keep adding to the top to continue the process. But that's